Sports on Air.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first ever episode of Foul Counted. And I'm your host for today, Ernest Hernandez of Sports on Air. Hinatid namin sa inyo to sa ating mga YouTube channels and kasama natin dito ang mga YouTubers na magbibigay ng tanong sa mga paborito nyong basketball players. And for our first episode, si Jimmy Alapag makakasama natin. And we would like to thank the people that made this happen, Cloudwalk Digital, and of course, Virtual Playground for giving us this special guest of ours, Charlie. And without further ado, here is our show and here are our YouTubers. Ako po si Sports On Air, Hoop Junkie, nandyan rin, PH Sports Bureau, Hoops Highlights, W Gameplay PH, A John Hoops. Ano nga ba? Ano nun? Dale, ano nga ba? Paano nga ba i-pronounce yan? Tama, di ba? And in behalf of our members na hindi kasama dito ngayon, Admin LA, W Hoops Play, Hottest 5 PH, we nagpasa sila ng mga tanong sa atin and then babasahin na lang namin for them. And we have to commend si Hottest 5 PH, frontliner po siya. Bayani po yan. Yung mga tunay na bayani sa ating bayan ngayon. And of course, right now, we will introduce, kailangan pa ba ng introduction nito? Jimmy Alapag is with us right now for the first episode. Palakpakan naman tayo dyan.
Hey. Good evening, everyone. Thank you guys again for having me.
Coach, unang tanong na lang siguro, no? Mahilig ka ba tumambay sa YouTube? Do you have some favorite channels na pinupunta mo lagi?
You know, considering, because I have 3 kids, you know, my free time is limited. Pero minsan when I'm on YouTube, you know, I'll try to catch some basketball highlights. But again, you know, having 3 young children, my days are pretty full.
All right, Coach, ganito, babacktrack natin lahat ng mga nangyari sa career mo. And we will start with your career in Cal State San Bernardino Coyotes. I don't know if I pronounced that well.
Yes. San Bernardino.
Not much is documented during those times in your, I mean, that was 99 to 2002. Can you talk us about those years and any interesting players or wars during that time that you can share to us that molded Jimmy Alapag before coming to the PBA?
Well, you know, to kind of backtrack and say, sobrang tagal na, you know, this is 20 years ago. When I got out of high school, I wasn't very heavily recruited kasi dati when I was in high school, yung first year high school ko, I was only 4'9", 90 pounds. Wow. So I was the only first year student at our high school who was actually on the varsity team, and there were mga 6,000 students at our school. So siyempre, diba? It's high school, so status is important. You're excited. I'm the only freshman on the varsity team, but you know, once the season started, I never played. You know, and it didn't matter, Kayat. I was the first one at practice, the last one to leave. I just never played. And so, of course, that excitement turns into embarrassment. Kasi lahat yung family ko, my parents, my brothers and sisters, yung friends ko sa high school, everyone's there. And I was the kid from literally my first year, second year, and even third year high school where, you know, parang if we were up 20 or tambak na by 20, then everyone would scream, "Oh, put Jimmy in the game," and that's tough. You know, it was a tough experience, but you know, I learned so many valuable lessons during that time, and a lot of it came from the support system that I had at home. You know, the coaches that I had, who just encouraged me to keep working, and not get discouraged, even though at times, you know, a lot of times actually, you know, I wanted to quit, but they wouldn't let me. So once I finally, you know, started my senior year in high school, we won the league championship. Because I only played really 1 year at the varsity level in high school, I wasn't recruited. So out of high school, I actually played at Division III University of Laverne, which is non-scholarship. But
Mhm.
I was lucky because my grades in high school were good because my parents wouldn't let me play unless my grades were high enough. So I got academic grants, which are basically scholarships. So I paid very little my first year of college at the Division III level. Played basketball there. Great people, awful basketball experience. It just wasn't fun. I wanted to compete at a higher level. No offense to those guys. Again, they were great guys, but it just wasn't the level that I wanted to be at. So I took a gamble. I went back down to the junior college level for a year, a 2-year university. It gave me another year to really catch up physically, um,
Mhm.
and at the same time work on my skills. As I got a little bigger, I got a little stronger, and fortunately, we had a great year that 1 year at the junior college level. Advanced all the way to the California state tournament, but we actually lost to a former PBA import and a very, very good friend of mine, Sean Daniels, who at the time was playing for Bakersfield Junior College. We lost to them in the first round of the state tournament. So that season led to me finally getting a scholarship offer to Cal State.
Okay, next question we have from Hoop Junkie.
Yep.
Hi, Coach Jimmy.
How's it going?
As a Filipino American, can you talk about your recruiting process and how you were recruited in Cal State?
Sure. So when I finally got to Cal State, my junior year, which was my first year there, we had a great season. A great group of guys. We actually advanced all the way to the Elite Eight in the Division II national tournament. And so after that season was the first time that I actually heard from coaches here in the PBA. At the time, it was San Miguel and Shell, the old Shell Turbocharger franchise. They had reached out. Some scouts who were working for the late coach Ron Jacobs reached out and said, had I ever considered coming to Manila to play? And that was really the first instance for me where parang, I really have, a possible opportunity to play overseas. And in this case, to come home. So it started from there. We spoke briefly and they just said, well, we'll continue to monitor you as next season comes around. And you guys have to remember back then, this is 99, 2000. There were only 3 Filipino players that I knew at the Division II level, and we were all in the same conference. It was myself, Harvey Carey, who was playing at Sonoma State in the Bay Area, and if you guys remember Denver Lopez, who played for San Miguel and Red Bull for quite some time.
Denver.
Yes.
He and I were good friends growing up, but we were the only 3 that I knew of that were playing at that level at that time. And obviously, you fast forward now, 15, 20 years later, and there are so many, Filipino American talents in the States playing at not just the Division II level, but even higher at the Division I level.
Okay, Coach. Now we will have to go now to your rookie year. Coach Jimmy, when you came to as a rookie, describe us those first years in the PBA, and I have to ask you this: who was the first player to bust your ass?
Oh, easy. Dale Singson. Easy. Easy. When I started as a PBA my rookie year, if you guys remember in 2002, I was with the national team. I finally played my first game and I got hurt. And so that's, it almost felt like my national team dream ended before it started. And back then, there was a lot of, a lot of comments that I wasn't big enough. Like, I kept hearing hindi kaya yan because he's too small. He can't handle the physicality of the PBA. And that, again, I always go back to the time when I was that 4'9", 90-pound kid back in the States, in high school. And that just drove me to continue to work harder and make sure that when I came back for the draft in 2003 that I was ready. and I spent probably 4 to 5 months before I came back for the draft in 2003, just training and working on my game, getting stronger, so that once I arrived, I was ready to go. And I think it helped me in 2002 because I was familiar with the league, I was familiar with the players. But right in the opening game, we played Shell at the Phil Sports Arena. They had drafted Eddie Lowry. I think he was the third pick in the draft, and he absolutely just torched us. I think he had like 20 plus points in the game. Dale Singston's posting me up, and I was used to bigger guys posting me up, in the States. So, you're 6'4", 6'5" point guards, and here you have a 5'11", 6 foot guard who had unbelievable footwork, and it was just like moving and yeah, he lit me up pretty good right in that opening game. They went on to beat us. I cramped at the end of the third quarter, so I didn't even finish the game. So not an ideal start for sure my rookie year, but that first year with Talking Text, Harvey and I we came onto a team that was had a lot of veterans and a lot of quality veterans at that. Guys like Asi, Vic Pablo, Patrick Fran, Bong Ravenna, Mark Telan, Don Bell Bolano, guys who had been in the league for quite some time. So it really allowed myself to come in and just play and lead in my own way, but not have to really carry the burden of, having to lead the team because we had so many veteran guys.
Next questions from PH Sports Bureau.
Hi, Coach. If my memory serves me right, you came into the league in 2003 together with Harvey, and Denver, I think, came in like in a year later, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So being the 10th pick overall in the 2003 PBA draft, were you like intimidated, going up against the players that came from the pro league, like NBA league?
Not at all, because in 2002, when I was still invited by Coach Jong to the national team tryouts, lahat sila nandun. Not just the PBA guys, Don, Kenneth, Danny S, Eric Mink, Asi, those guys, but the NBA guys as well, Ramel, other guys who had experience in the NBA. So I think when I came back for the draft in 2003, I had a better idea of just the league and the competition because I'd been here for about 5 months before I got injured. But being the 10th pick of the draft, again, it was just more added motivation because I knew that I could play. I knew how hard that I had worked, and everybody passed up on me. And things work out for a reason, and I'm thankful for my time with Talking Text. But my parents were there at the draft in 2003, and I remember my mom was crying and she's hugging me, and I'm smiling and I'm happy because siyempre, part of me is like I'm officially a part of the Philippine Basketball Association, but the other part of me was we need to play tomorrow if we can because I want to show everybody that what happened last year was a fluke in terms of me getting hurt.
And it paid off because you bested all your co-rookies. You bagged the Rookie of the Year award, right?
Yes. And again, I was drafted. Things happen for a reason, and it was a blessing to go to a Talking Text team that again had a lot of veteran guys, and just allowed me to come in and play. It helps when you have a dominant big man, probably the most dominant big guy in the league at the time, in Asi. Yep. But again, we just had a lot of quality people who I really looked to as mentors and veteran guys, like the guys that I mentioned before, and that really helped make my transition pretty seamless from the year before.
Okay, well, thanks, Coach. I'm actually 40 years old, so I actually grew up watching you and Asi.
I feel a little better about that. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, next question is from Brian Yalong of ABS-CBN, who joined us right now.
Hey, Coach. Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
I'm a lot older than him. I'm 50 years old.
We're all in the same neighborhood. Don't worry.
Anyway, this is a question that's been bugging me since 2003.
Okay.
There were just rumors, okay? There were rumors before when you arrived in the Philippines that you would end up with San Miguel beer.
Mhm.
Because I'm not sure why. And the reason for that is because one is I didn't really expect you to be a shooter. They said you were at such a small with your height, you could dunk the ball.
Mhm.
Is that true?
Yes. Yes.
You could? How come we
Very
never
true.
saw it?
Very true.
He posted one video just recently.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
before
found.
that, I didn't know. Those were just rumors. Before that, I
Oh no,
never
no, I
really.
could. I
Okay.
definitely could. It was much easier 20 years ago.
Okay.
But no, you're right. Again, back when I was in college, doing the States, the first people to contact me were coaches or scouts who worked with Coach Ron Jacobs, and they were my connection to him, about the possibility of coming to play for San Miguel, coming to the PBA to play, and God rest his soul, because when I came out in 2002, for the draft and for the national team tryouts, literally when I got off the plane, the first thing people told me was, "Hey, you hear about what happened to Coach Ron?" And
Mm.
as excited as I was from that point, I didn't know what was going to happen because I hadn't met Coach Jong. I didn't get into the draft in 2002, but thankfully, Coach Jong reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know before what happened with Coach Ron, he and I spoke often, and so your invitation to the national team still stands if you want to join us." So I was taking the trip from Greenbelt 1, where I was staying at the time, going all the way to Katipunan to Mora Lorenzo for the workouts. I think I was leaving at like 5 a.m. because I didn't know where I was going. But no, it's not rumor. It was true that San Miguel was the first to reach out.
Okay. So then you eventually went to talk in text. Were there any mixed feelings that San Miguel did not consider you on your part?
Well, again, I was told by a handful of teams that I would go before 10, but one by one, it didn't happen. And again, those things are out of your control. And I just, again, I was happy that I was finally in the league and really officially a pro, so to speak. But at the same time, I that was a driving force to show that I could play. And again, I think everyone's memory of me was what happened in 2002. I played one game. I barely lasted less than 5 minutes before I got hurt. So things happen for a reason. And again, I'm thankful for my time with TNT.
Right. Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely.
A follow-up question from PH Sports Bureau.
Yep.
Yeah, about Coach Jimmy's dunks. I remember when I used to watch PBA games in Cuneta Astrodome during the early 2000. The best part of the game actually is during round robin. That is where Coach Jim will showcase his electrifying dunks and his leaping ability. And then after that, you can leave. No, that's the most exciting part during TNT's round robin. Yeah, just
Well,
sharing that.
it's funny, guys, because before I came over, when I was training, and I knew that I was jumping higher and that I could finish at the rim. So many of my coaches in the States were telling me that it's going to be so important for you when you go to Manila that you show people right away what you can do, because obviously from a visual standpoint, I'm not the most physically imposing guy. So they said, you need to show them how athletic you are, and you need to show them how well you can shoot the ball and how well you can handle the ball. So, when you're young and the legs are fresh, it's always easier to throw a few down before the game starts. It gets harder as the years go by.
Okay, Coach. You have 6 championships in your PBA career, and of course, I won't ask you which is your favorite championship, but instead, describe those 6 championships like your 6 kids. describe each and every one of them.
Okay. First championship, first conference, amazing. And just how we won the championship. Thinking about the group that we had with all the veteran guys and then two young guys like myself and Harvey. We get all the way to the finals. We're playing against Coca-Cola, who's just loaded. They've got Johnny Abrientos, Rudy Hatfield, Jeff Carriazo, Pochuino, list goes on. And then we fall down 0-2 in the series. And then come back and win 4 straight. That one's just memorable just because, you always remember your first, right?
Yeah.
And just, again, everything that had happened from the year before, getting hurt, having to go back to the States, coming back, being the last pick of the first round. It was a little bit of validation that, that I could play and I could have success in the league. Unfortunately, after that first championship, it took another, my goodness, took another
6 years.
6 years before we won another one. Our team went through a huge transition from different coaches, different lineups. But the thing that really stands out from that second championship was, teaming up with Makmak Cardona. He had such a celebrated college career at LaSalle, and getting a chance to team up with him and a young Jason Castro. It was special because we waited so long. I think from the time that we won the first championship all the way to the second one, in those 6 years, I think we went to the finals 3 or 4 times and lost every time. Lost to Nebra a few times, lost to San Miguel. In 2007, we lost to Alaska when I was on loan with the national team. So the second one was special just because, man, it just seemed like, we finally got another one 6 years later. And then the next 4, being a part of that group that we had with Talk and Text with Coach Chut, just a very, very special group. In terms of the talent that we had, it was just a combination of incredibly talented guys, but incredibly selfless at the same time. And that was really the secret behind our success, the chemistry, the unselfishness, and just guys buying into what we wanted to do as a team. And honestly, guys, the best part of that run with that Talk and Text team were the practices because, on both sides, you had, Jason and I, you had Larry Fonisher and Ryan Reyes, you had Harvey Carey, Jared Dillinger, you had Kelly Williams and Ronadale, you had Peak playing the big spot. So, the practice environment was amazing. And to be able to be that competitive at practice, but then be so close off the court. We literally spend so much time together at having lunches, having dinners, having drinks, whatever the case may be. And all that spilled over onto the court. So, a really, really special group. And, that last run was, very, very special.
Okay, next question is from Agent Hoops. Agent, whatever.
Agon. Hi, Coach Jimmy.
How you doing? Good evening.
Can you just name your 3 PBA point guard rivals?
Ooh, my 3 PBA rivals?
Yeah, point guard.
Okay. Definitely have to go JJ Helterbrand. We had a lot of classic battles early in my career. Being together on the national team. He won MVP a couple years before I did. So I always looked forward to the matchup with JJ because he was a little bit of a bigger guard, a scoring guard, and just was super competitive. You really had to bring your best when you played against him. Another guy would be I think towards the second part of my career would be LA. And that's what all the times that we competed when he played for Alaska, and even towards the tail end of my career when he already moved to Ginebra. Again, just somebody who I felt like he was a guy that we approach the game the same way in terms of our basketball IQ and how we want to set up our teammates. I think he's the best defender when it comes to trailing down screens I've ever seen, because nobody can hit him, and you come off a staggered double, triple screen and you turn and he's right there. So I'd say JJ, I'd say LA, and my third, because we only played together for 1 year and I played against them for so long, I'd say Willie Miller. Just for me, one of the best guards to ever play in the PBA. Just unguardable for me, offensively, and I think he was an underrated defender because of how strong and how athletic he was. So I'm going with my guy, Willie Miller.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
All right, next question is from Hoops Highlights.
Good evening, Coach Jimmy.
How you doing?
Being already the leader in career 3-point field goals made, and in my opinion, the best 3-point shooter in PBA ever.
Thank you.
What do you think Jimmy Alapag can do if you played today in the era of spacing and 3-point shooting? Mas maraming attempts ngayon di ba?
Oh, siyempre, kasi I think we've all seen the game evolve, diba? Not to say that yung mid-range game isn't effective, because it is. But I just think the way the game has evolved, where the game is really dominated from the guard position, as opposed to Date when it was really a big man dominated game. Because back then you throw the ball into the post, you wait for the double team, and then you play off of that. Pero ngayon, you have guards who are so fast, so athletic, who can get to the rim. They almost serve the same purpose in terms of attracting the defense, attracting double teams, and then playing off the kick out. So, I didn't shoot very many mid-range jump shots in my career anyway, but I think now with the way the game's played, I probably would have had a handful more attempts and hopefully some makes, but I think one of my advantages, especially as a younger player, was my athleticism, where I could get to the rim. I was strong enough and athletic enough to finish at the basket against the bigger guys. Pero, one thing that I saw here that so many of the guards had, especially guys like LA, Mark Baroka, Mark Cardona, everybody had, this floater shot that I didn't see much of back when I was playing in college in the States. So, I wish I had learned that shot earlier in my career, because it's incredibly effective. But I think now, because of the way the game has evolved, I probably would have had a handful more attempts for sure.
Thank you, po.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, Coach, next is W Gameplay PH.
What's up, Coach Jim?
How you doing? Good evening.
I have read some stories about you back in 2011 when you were playing for TNT Katropa. A CBA team tried to hire you to play for their team. If I'm not mistaken, that was the Tsingtao Double Star Eagles. Is it true, and what happened, Coach?
Absolutely. Not too many people know that story, so that's I'm impressed for sure. But yes, it's absolutely true. That was a funny situation, because if you guys remember in 2011, we lost the Grand Slam in Game 7 to Patron, and at the time that was the time of Gilas 1, and there were talks towards the end of that third conference that year that some of us were going to join Coach Torman's team, and of course eventually myself, Kelly, Ronadell, and Aussie joined the team. But probably at the beginning to middle part of the third conference, I got an offer, and yes, it was from Qingdao, to come and play. But it got tricky, because right after the third conference, we only took about a week break before I had to join Gilas for the FIBA Asia in Wuhan. And the CBA team wanted me to report a week after or 2 weeks after the third conference. So it was either go and play for the CBA team or honor my commitment to play with Gilas 1. And to make things a little bit more tricky was that my contract with Talking Text was expiring. And obviously they were offering a 3-year extension. And so, that came into play as well. I didn't necessarily want to, burn that bridge by not signing the extension with the group that we had, not playing for Gilas 1, and then just leaving to go play in China for 6 months. Although it was a very tempting offer for sure.
Next is myself. Okay. Coach, you saw a rookie Jason Castro coming into the PBA, and what were the first impressions of him when he came to the practice? And of course, he looked up to you as the veteran. What were the tools that you handed to him to become the Blur that we know right now?
I really don't want to take too much credit because, Jason is the one who did the work. And when he came to Talking Text his first year, just an ultra talented guard, blazing speed, athletic, his ability to change speeds and get to the basket, were, man, I was really blown away to really see it in person at practice. I think the biggest strides that Jason has made in his game from the time that we were together until the guard that we all see now, who's been the best guard in Asia for how many years now. One was just his perimeter shooting, because early in his career, he wasn't comfortable shooting the three-point shot as much, but, we worked on it together. He would stay after practice and work tirelessly at it. And it was just awesome to see the improvement. And so not only was he a threat to get to the rim with his speed and his athleticism, but now with his ability to make perimeter shots, I mean, he became unguardable. And I think the other part is just, when he came to Talking Text, you had to literally beg him to say a word. He would just smile and come ready to work in practice. But, I would always encourage him to speak up, because I think as a point guard, you're almost thrust into a leadership position in a lot of ways because of just the position we are on the court, having the ball in our hand, having to direct so many things. And so it's been great to see his growth as a leader, not just for Talking Text, but for the national team. And, he's one of the best to ever play in the PBA. And, I'm thankful that we had the time that we did together, because we made some special memories together.
Of course, you practiced with him every day. What was it like to be? We didn't see much of you, a prime Jimmy Alapag going up against Jason Castro. You were all teammates that time, but describe to us the practices that you had with Jason.
No, they were ultra competitive. Ultra competitive, and the best part about it was guys were pushing each other because, we wanted to win. We wanted to win together as a group, and we knew the only way to do that was to push each other at practice. So, I mean, practices got competitive. They were heated, but, there was always a huge level of respect, not just between Jason and I, but really the entire team. And I felt like that was a huge part of our success as a team, that, guys left whatever ego they may have had at the door and just came in ready to work. And we built that chemistry and camaraderie that we had because of the respect everyone had for each other.
Okay, next question right now is from Hoop Junkie.
Yep.
Coach Jimmy, you're always known for your three-point shooting. So take us back to your dunk video, the one that you posted on Instagram. How did you find the video? PBA videos are so hard to find, and
yes,
what was going through your mind when you dunked that ball?
Okay, so I got a funny story for you guys. That dunk was 2004. It's 2020. I've literally been looking for that tape since 2004. And obviously dealing with this pandemic and all of us are at home. I just happened to be cleaning an old closet, and I'm cleaning the closet, and I just see this box literally at the bottom of the closet. And I open the shoe box, and there's VHS tapes in this box. And there was about 9 or 10 of them in there. So I said, oh, some old PBA games. So I'm just kind of looking through the tapes. I found a couple of old college games that I got from Harvey Carey's dad years back. And then I'm looking, it says, oh, Talk and Text Air 21. And then I see in parentheses Ormok. I said, if this is the tape, this is the golden tape that I've been looking for. And sure enough, special thanks to Coach Mon Jose, who converted the VHS to an MP4. And yeah, I mean, we found it. So a really cool memory. Again, it brings me back to such a long time ago when I had less mileage on the legs. Was much younger back then. And that was the season that Willie Miller and I played together. So, yeah, pretty cool moment for sure. My kids thought it was cool, so that was even better.
So you have now proof to that you can throw it down.
Yeah, because my oldest son, who's going to be 8 in September, he didn't believe me. He's like, you can't get up there, Dada. It's too high. So at least I have proof for him.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, next question is from Brian Yalong of ABS. Brian, you have a question?
Yeah, Jimmy.
Yes.
Through your career, you've been playing with different kinds of imports.
Mhm.
So I just gotta ask, who among the imports you love playing with, and who among the if ever there is, who among them you didn't like?
Brian, I was pretty lucky, and we didn't really have too many bad imports in terms of the attitude or the yabang. The guys who stood out for me is just like the best imports. Definitely Paul Harris, who we won the first import championship with Talk and Text. In all my years playing, him and Justin Brownlee got to be the not only two great players, but two of the best people. Just quality people in terms of character, in terms of work ethic. And that was such an infectious thing for our team back in 2011. So to win the first championship with him was really special. So Paul definitely stands out. He's still a very close friend today. Some other guys, Sean Daniels, who I named earlier, who we finally became teammates. Donnell Harvey, who, we had that not so memorable Game 7. I didn't see a foul play at the end of the game that brought the game to overtime. But Donnell was another same thing. High character, great work ethic. And, of course, Gerald Honeycutt, a guy who I played with early in my career. I believe he was best import a couple of times. Just unfortunate we never got a chance to win a championship together. But, again, incredibly talented at 6'9", 270 pounds or whatever he was. Really, really skilled for his size. So those guys are the ones who stand out.
Okay. Thank you.
Next question is, again, we throw it back to W Gameplay PH.
Yep.
Coach Jim, who do you think will be the next Jimmy Alapag in the PBA today? And is there a PBA player that you think that can break your 3-point made record in the future?
I don't think it's fair to try to, put any pressure on guys to have to feel like, they need to have the success that I had. I do think that there are a lot of great young guards in the league right now. I look forward to seeing Kiefer back on the court after this long layoff that he's had. He's been one of the top guards in the Philippines for quite some time. I think the layoff hurts him a little bit, but I'm excited to see him back in the court. And then obviously it's been proud for me to see someone like Becerra Mer and how much he's grown in these early years of his career. You talk about the guys who just got into the league, guys like Robert Bollock, who I've been a fan of his since he was at San Beda. I think the kid is just a winner. I love his fire. I love his passion. And I love his ability to lead. And then even someone like CJ Perez, who reminds me a lot of Jason, just in terms of, the speed and athleticism that he brings to the position, and the fact that he's a two-way player where he has the ability to score, but then can also get into you and defend. So those guys stand out. And honestly, my wish is for all those guys to hopefully have more success than I did. I hope they all played longer than the 13, 14 years that I played. I hope they win more than 6 championships because, that's the nature of this game. You do your best, you give everything that you have to the game, and then when it's your time to go, you hopefully walk away proud of what you've done, and then try to pay it forward to the next guys who are coming in after you. So I think those guys all have bright futures ahead of them. In terms of who can break the record, the 3-point record, I think 2 guys or 3 guys who really just come to mind. And again, because of the way the game is now, and there's more 3-point attempts being taken. But I think these guys are like the best shooters in the PBA right now. I'd go Matthew Wright, Marshall Lassiter, and Terrence Romeo. Those guys, and even one more. If Big Game James sticks around for a couple of years, he might be the first to break it. But again, all big time shooters, not afraid to take the big shot, all have national team experience. So, again, now that I'm retired, it's fun for me to be a fan and to see who gets there first, because I know one of them will, and I'll be there when they do to congratulate them.
Or
Coach.
Coach Allen came out of retirement, the record again. Right? Just kidding.
He might be able to.
Coach, run me to the year that you had the league in your hands, which was 2011, your MVP year, and run us through that time that you got the MVP. What was running through your head during that time? All the hard work paying off and holding that MVP trophy.
That year was very special. More than the MVP was, again, just that team. I think that group that we had, is very similar to the group that we had with Gilas in 2013 and 2014. In terms of the talent, in terms of the character, the work ethic. I mean, guys genuinely committed to coming in every day and working, and trying to push themselves, trying to push each other to improve and get better. And I think that's what set the bar for us that season. And I think, that MVP that year wasn't just a culmination of my effort. I think it was our team's effort. And I told our guys that when I won the MVP that year, that I was the one accepting the trophy, but I was accepting it on the behalf of our team, because I felt like we all had a part in it. And one thing that I do look back on when I did win MVP that year, it was during the finals of the third conference. And, I remember being booed during the speech because, some of the fans felt that Arwen should have won the MVP, which, you can't help that, but that was that hurt a little bit. But again, we were in the middle of a competitive final series. But that year was special. The group that we had, getting Paul Harris the second conference. It was just unfortunate that by the time the third conference came around, we were running on fumes. But we gave it everything we had, and it just fell a bit short of the Grand Slam.
A year after that, was the lockout year of the NBA, and everyone was coming here. And I can still remember Kobe Bryant scouting you and asking for your videos. He's going to be going up against you. Run us through that NBA experience of playing against those for me the best NBA event that ever happened in the Philippines.
Oh, ever. Just man, a mind-blowing experience. To be honest, I was lucky enough to be there the first night when they played against the PBA select team, and so I'm watching these guys in the court, and I'll never forget. I think they started. I think it was CP3, Kobe, James Harden, Kevin Durant, and JaVale McGee. And I'm watching these guys in the court that first night, and I'm like, we have to play these guys tomorrow? I mean, you're talking the best of the best. And, when you're bringing the reigning MVP and Derrick Rose off the bench, it kind of shows you, what type of team that was. But just getting a chance to be on the court with those guys was a dream come true. And growing up in the States, following the NBA as a kid and getting a chance, being here in Manila, and really just a unique opportunity because of the lockout that they would come to Manila and play, and to get a chance to be out there on the court with those guys. I mean, just next level. But an amazing experience considering. I'll never forget driving to Araneta that night. And there was a line around Araneta that was maybe 3 or 4 times around the arena with people waiting to get in. So just to be a part of that whole experience was very, very special.
And give us the microscope experience. Who were you guarding, and what were the things that you learned?
Okay, so I was guarding
big players.
So I was guarding CP3, and I was guarding Derek Fisher. I'll tell you guys. I'll share with you guys 2 things. One, the first thing that I remember about Chris Paul was that when he was bringing the ball up the court, he was pounding the ball on the floor so hard. But then he had the ball on a string. I was like, there's no way anybody's taking the ball from him. And just, you just felt this confidence in that he knew he could get to whatever spot on the floor that he wanted to. And he's a lot heavier just in terms of how strong his core is, because I remember I tried to kind of, muscle in with my forearm, and I put all 174 pounds of me at the time into him, and he wasn't budging. So, but I have another funny moment from that game. There was a transition play. They had gotten a steal, and Kevin Durant pulled up for a 3-point shot about 10 feet behind the line. And you know me, hey, it's my MVP year. I'm like, let me contest the shot. So I contest KD's 3-point shot, and I got to find the picture. I know I have it here at home, I think in an album. But KD's shot is like up here, like, above his head, ready to release the ball. And in the picture, you see my hand like near his chest. I don't even think he saw my hand, and he's just raised up, eyes on the rim. So I don't think my contest on that shot worked very well. But again, it was just a reminder that those guys are next level. I mean, a guy who's nearly 7 feet, who can shoot the ball and move the way he does. Yeah, I mean, one of the best.
During the gold medal game in FIBA 2013, you guys didn't have Marcus Dowdett in the finals, in the gold medal game.
Mm.
Would you think you guys have won that if Marcus played?
I think we would have had a great chance. And if you guys remember during that game, I mean, we fought every step of the way with them until probably the last 5 minutes of the game, where, Haddadi really just kind of imposed his size in the middle and had some big buckets for them to kind of pull away. But I may be a little biased, but I definitely think that if Marcus was there, we would have had a great chance to win the gold medal. Even though none of us had slept the night before because we were still trying to get over the win against Korea.
Okay, Coach. Next question is from W Gameplay PH.
Coach Jim, if you will coach the Gilas Pilipinas in 2023 FIBA World Cup, what kind of naturalized player do you think that will work best for the team? Do you want a guard or a small forward like Jordan Clarkson type of a player? Because probably we got Kai Soto at that time. Or do you still want a big man, a stretch big that can play alongside Kai Soto? What do you think?
That's a great question. For me, one guy, I mean, for me, he has to be our naturalized player. And again, to add to your point with Kai and the amount of growth that we've already seen, and he'll continue to progress over the next almost 3 years, getting ready for the G League. You still have Junmar. You have AJ Edu, who's another big time, big playing collegiately in the States. If I was going to bring in a naturalized guy for the World Cup in 2023, it'd be Justin Brownlee. And I say that because for me, he's the best import I've ever seen here in the Philippines. And no disrespect to the guys who came before him, Coach Norman, Bobby Parks Sr., those guys. But for who I've seen, he's the best. And I say that because not only is he the best player on the court, but his character, his selflessness, his work ethic off the court, and how he's really embraced the Filipino culture. I mean, it's an absolute natural fit because he's familiar with the players, he's familiar with the league. And can you guys imagine Justin Brownlee wearing a Gilas jersey at say the Philippine Arena? You know how loud it would be in that arena to have him alongside those guys. I may be a little biased because Justin's a very good friend of mine, and I've been very, very fortunate to have had the chance to coach him in my young coaching career. But even though he beat us in the finals my last season, just to see what he does, his impact on a team on an everyday basis is out of this world. So he to me is the number one choice.
Thanks, Coach.
Okay, next question is from Hoop Junkie.
Coach Jimmy, take us back to the FIBA Asia 2007. The Philippine national team had a pretty stacked lineup on paper, consisting of you, Asita Ulava, Mark Kagiwa, Kelly Williams, Danny Siegel. Do you think we could have qualified to the Olympics if we had a naturalized player back then?
Absolutely. Because if you think about it back then, in 2007, Iran with a very, very young Hamed Haddadi played against a Lebanon team that we had played multiple times leading up to the FIBA Asia in Tokushima. And I think if we played them, I forget the number. If we played them 5 or 6 times, we beat them 4 or 5 of the times we played them. I think we were a tough matchup for them. And I think our speed bothered them because they had a lot of size. But I definitely think if we would have had a naturalized player, someone like Marcus Douthit back then, would have given us a great chance. Because the team that we had, again, one of the best on paper. It was just unfortunate that we were walking into a situation where we'd been on suspension for a few years. And so we were treated like a team that was, ranked 100 in Asia or whatever it was, and ended up getting into a group that, was with 3 of the top teams in Asia at that time. So, an unfortunate situation, but, it was just something that I think we all wish we could have found a way to get out of that first group.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Okay, next again is W Gameplay PH.
This is just a what if, Coach. Some of my subscribers commented before that if Jimmy Alapag is taller, like 6'3", 6'5", you will make it to the NBA. Do you think you really have a chance if you're a taller guard with an insane outside shooting?
It's wishful thinking. If that were the case and I was blessed enough to be, 4, 5, 6 inches taller. Who knows? I played in the NBA Summer League, for 2 summers before I came over in 2002. Worked out with guys like Penny Hardaway and Bo Outlaw and Paul Pierce, back in those days. So I got a chance to see, how good they were up close. So, those guys are on a different level, but, in my prime, me being 5 or 6 inches taller, I would have been glad to have taken my shot to compete with those guys.
And you could have pushed CP3 with that height.
Yeah, I probably would have been able to push him a little harder than I did back in 2011.
Okay, Coach. Next question is from Brian Yalom from ABS-CBN.
Mm-hmm.
Coach, I'm not sure if you're aware, but today is the anniversary of that forgettable Australia versus Philippines game.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So I just have to ask you, what if you were the coach calling the shots? You were aware of these things happening at that time. They were roughhousing, throwing racial slurs at us. What would you tell your players?
It's tough. I look back on that situation because I was there. I was actually there with my oldest son watching the game at center court. And really an unfortunate incident. No matter what level, you don't want to see instances like that happen. It's bad for the game, and I think especially on the national level, there's a certain responsibility that we all have as national athletes to be ambassadors of the game, and we always want to represent our country and play our respective sport the right way. I just think in that incident, it just escalated so fast. And I think, looking back, I would have hoped that it didn't get to that point. Usually if there's a scuffle on the court, you would hope that the guys on the court can kind of ease the tension out there and end it there, and not have it escalate to something that obviously has the potential to be a lot worse. But again, it's something that again was unfortunate, but I think we all learned something from it, and we just make sure that we're much better going forward.
Okay. Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Okay, Coach. Next is hoop jumping.
Coach Jimmy, take us back to the preparations of the FIBA World Cup in 2014. I think this was in the latter stage. You were already in Spain. I posted this video a few months ago of you speaking to the team about being serious in practice, and you said some very serious words. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah, I remember. That was, we were probably about maybe a week before arriving in Sevilla for the tournament. And at the time, we were in the States for training when we met Andre Blatch. We were there for about 2.5, 3 weeks before we traveled to Spain, and we were playing friendly games in and around Spain before going to Sevilla and playing other World Cup teams. And we weren't having very much success. We weren't playing very well, and I think a lot of it was just adjusting to the style of play, adjusting to a new naturalized player on our team. And so that particular practice, I think we were all feeling a little discouraged a week before the tournament, and I don't think we came into practice with the focus and the energy that Coach Chut expected from us and the staff. And and that particular practice, Andre Blatch actually set that out. And so, I made it a point to just call, us as a team, that, we were a week away from the tournament. And my biggest goal with talking to the guys at that particular practice was just for them to understand the the responsibility that we had going to Sevilla. It was the first time that Gilas was playing on the world stage in 40 years. I didn't want us to go there after all the work that we had put in and just lose by 50 every game and then come back home. I think, for us as a team, we deserve to go out there and compete. But I think looking at the bigger picture, it was important that we represented the country the right way. And that particular practice, was just a reminder that, we have to be ready. And time was of the essence at that point because we had, again, if I remember correctly, about a week left before getting to Sevilla for the tournament.
Okay,
He said
Coach.
he said some colorful words in the huddle. They had to blur it for the TV. They had to censor it out.
Sometimes it has to be that way. Not all the time, but sometimes.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Love. Yeah.
Okay, Coach. You faced Giannis Antetokounmpo in that FIBA World Cup, but that was a very young Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I remember when he came to Manila, the moment Ronnie Del, he said to him, "You're the dirty player." and Ronnie Del, as witty as he is, he be honest, "No, I take a bat." So can you run us to that game that, of course, you guys were against, and Giannis was there, and compared to us, the Giannis before and Giannis now, and what made Giannis say Ronnie Del is that guy?
Well, I'll share with you guys a quick story. So our last practice in the auxiliary gym where the games were actually being played, you would go downstairs and there were courts down there. So teams had their last. You would have one practice in the auxiliary gym and then one or two practices on the actual court before the tournament started. And so our last practice in the auxiliary gym, as we were finishing practice, Greece was coming in after us. And so if you guys talk to Gabe Norwood, Gabe and I are sitting next to each other taking off our shoes, and Giannis comes and stands against the wall right next to us. And here's this young kid, I think he was 19, I believe at the time, 6'10", I mean, super skinny. I mean, he was really, really thin. But Gabe and I just looked at his wingspan and saw how long his arms were, and we're just like, man, and we knew that he was already on the NBA radar, so we were just curious to see where his career would end up. But as far as the game against Greece, I think of all the games the World Cup, our game against them was the most physical. They were really a physically imposing team. There weren't too many times when you would go in the paint that you weren't getting hit by somebody, whether it was their big guy or whoever it was. It was just the most physically taxing game of the World Cup. And we were there to compete, and so things got a little testy, during the game and a little bit afterward. There was a little bit of pushing and shoving, but again, it's competitive guys, some of the best players in the world, and wanting to go out there and compete and represent their country well. And it was just a sign from both teams that no one was going to back down. But we were lucky because the Giannis of the 2014 World Cup and the Giannis of the recent World Cup are two different people. He's one of the best in the world. So we were lucky. We were lucky to catch a very young Giannis Antetokounmpo back in 2014.
Okay, next question is from Brian Yalong of ABS-CBN.
Coach, you just gotta ask. I've been asking this to all sports bodies. With the COVID-19, the preparations, regardless what league or even Gilas, it's affected the preparations, the trainings, and everything.
Mm.
What is the impact do you think this would have on our Gilas Filipinas team moving forward?
Well, Brian, I hope it doesn't affect us too much, just because my oras pa. The World Cup isn't until 2023, and this pandemic has obviously affected not just all of us here in the Philippines, but the entire world. So I hope in that respect it hasn't hurt us so much because it's affected everyone. But at the same time has wings, and we're already halfway through 2020. By the time January comes around, that leaves us with 2 years left. So I hope when this virus does get under control and we get the game back, that the Gilas program can start to make progress in terms of getting at least a pool together of guys who could potentially be on that team. Because I think the one thing that will really serve us well in that World Cup, playing at home, which I think was a huge factor for our guys in 2014, was, again, the chemistry and the camaraderie. And because we have just a different dynamic in the PBA now with so many great young players, it's going to be important for them, or that pool of guys, to really start to build on that dynamic and really build that chemistry and camaraderie now, so that no matter what happens in 2023, teams might come in with more size or more talent, but in terms of having the best team, we'll be up there near the top. And I think that'll be the biggest challenge for this group preparing for the World Cup in 2023, how they can really gel and really know each other both on and off the court, because that will help them be successful in 2023.
Do you think there will be changes?
Okay, Coach.
Yeah.
Go, Ryan. Go.
I'm listening. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm
Do
listening.
you think there will be major changes made? I mean, one thing that most people are not looking at is the time factor, and there are players who are aging.
Mhm.
So that means that come whatever this is over, there are players who may not be. I mean, they're at a certain age or something like that, and here comes a new guy, a new player, younger player. Do you think there will be changes made moving forward for us?
Brian, I really think that's going to be up to the coach and the staff that they decide to lead the Gilas program for the World Cup. But I think that'll definitely be one of the challenges, having to decide. Having whatever the pool is, whether it's a pool of 20, 30, 40 guys, whatever it may be. The challenge will be trying to find the right balance and really the right group, which I think Coach Shutt and the staff did a great job with our team in 2013 and 14, where we just had a great group of guys, and really, again, the chemistry and camaraderie aspect spilled over onto the court because of how tight knit of a group we were off the court. And again, with the talent that we have in the PBA, abroad with guys like AJ and Kai, it's going to make it tough for that coach to decide who will be the 12 guys who get that very, very special honor to represent the country here at home for the World Cup.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, Coach. I will cap this Gilas Pilipinas portion of your career with, of course, the best game in Gilas Pilipinas history so far, which was breaking the Korean curse. And of course, many stories have been told already about the Korean curse. Anything that we still haven't known in that game?
I just remember during our practices, the handful of practices that we had at Mall of Asia Arena, Coach Schott would specifically schedule practices 8 to 10 p.m., 10 p.m. to 12 midnight, just to have us be accustomed to playing the late game. Because if you guys remember the FIBA schedule, sometimes you'll play an 8 or 9 p.m. game.
Yeah, and
so
11.
just to adjust our body clock. And there were so many times with that team where after practice we would just stay in the arena and shoot. I mean, you're in Mall of Asia, it's you have the entire arena to yourself. So all of us, from myself, Jason, LA, Jeff, Larry, Gary, Dell, Gabe, I mean everybody, we would stay in there and shoot. And by the time we would walk out of Mall of Asia, it was 1, 2 in the morning on our way home. And I felt like it was those moments where we were in there together after practice and just talking and talking about what that moment would be like if we did play Korea or we were playing for the gold medal, what that moment would be. And I really felt like because all of us genuinely committed to the program and wanted the Philippines back on the world stage, that's what made that game so much more special because we were ready. We were ready. Even when Marcus went down, I remember we called timeout, and I think it was a key part of the game because being the captain of that team, when we call timeout, and I'm listening to Coach Shot, and he gets Japeth or Ping to sub for Marcus, and I'm looking around the huddle, and there was absolutely no fear in anybody's eyes that Marcus went down. And again, that was just a testament to the guys, a testament to the preparation that it didn't matter. It was just going to be the next man up. And, I think that game, it was an absolute team effort from everyone. Everybody who came in contributed and played a vital part of us winning that game.
Okay, Coach, now we go to your coaching stints. Okay, so we are on a little bit on the tail end. A question here from W Hoops Play, who is not with us right now.
Okay.
Coach, any chance that you're gonna get former naturalized players for for Alab Pilipinas like Andre Blatch or Isaiah Austin?
Those two guys are obviously two great players. Have NBA on the resume, even especially with Dre's resume. He was in the NBA for I believe 10 years. There's an import salary max in the ABL. So as great as it would be to have those guys, I don't think we could afford them. But again, there have been some great guys in the ABL. I was lucky enough to coach Balk and Justin together my first season, and they completely changed everything with our team. So really, really thankful, to be a young coach and get an opportunity to coach two high caliber guys in Justin and Balk.
Okay, next question is from Ayon Hoops.
Hi, Coach.
Hey, Dio.
What are your thoughts about the decision of Thirdy Ravenna to play in Japan? Also, some advice to him.
I'm excited for him. I think it's a great opportunity for him, but a big responsibility too. Anytime you go abroad, your expectations as an import player, go up a bit. But obviously he's one of the best amateur players here in the country, and I think it's a great opportunity for him to grow. Not only as a basketball player, but as a young man as well. Being in a foreign country, but I'm confident. Thirdy's got a great work ethic, and I think as long as he just goes out there and dedicates himself to the work, and really embraces the Japanese culture and our Kababayans who were there in Japan, I think he'll find a lot of success there. So I think myself and all of us we're rooting for him.
You have a follow-up, Dale?
Another for me, Coach. If ever there will be, would you accept an offer in B League? And who is the one Filipino you are bringing alongside with you to play as an Asian import?
It's almost a no-brainer, but I'll give two answers. June Mahar,
Okay.
but he probably wouldn't be available, so I'd say Jason. But he probably wouldn't be available either.
How about available guys?
But who's available? So you're talking about amateur players?
Yeah.
Amateur players. I think the kid from UP, Juan
Gomez de Leon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think he's got a bright future ahead of him as well. Very athletic, strong, can shoot the ball, can put it on the floor. I'm excited to see him get his opportunity to be a pro here, soon.
Okay. More questions here from PH Sports Bureau.
Okay. Since we're talking about B League and thinking if you got an offer from them. What about if you got an offer uh, to 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 coach the FIBA 2023 team? What would be your main plan for our team to advance to the next level?
Well, again, if I were in the position to be the head coach, obviously, it would be a huge task. Um, but something that I would look forward to. I think because there's still time before the World Cup in 2023. Again, I think the biggest thing is putting the staff together, um, and 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 trying to get the best basketball minds to put their heads together collectively, to put a game plan together in terms of how we want to play. And once we identify that, which players fall under that category to give us the best chance to be successful. But I think in terms of the selection of the players, again, once we get the game back and once this pandemic gets under control, I think it's going to be really important just to start to identify the players who may have an opportunity to represent the country. Because I think for the young players, if they're told, hey, we're looking at you as a possible member of that World Cup team in 2023, I think it puts an added responsibility to them, whether you're an amateur player or a pro, to say, hey, I gotta represent the game. I have to represent the country the right way, and I need to keep working on my game. Because for us, we were fortunate enough to play the World Cup in Europe, in Spain, and I think there is a different type of pressure playing at home. And I think that's something that the coaching staff mentioned to us in 2023, that yes, we are going to have an incredible home court advantage, but at the same time, all eyes are going to be on us. And it's something that the guys for 2023 will have to acknowledge and just prepare accordingly, to go out there and play their best.
Okay.
Thank you, Coach.
Yep.
Next question is from Hoops Highlights.
Coach, from your experience on being a Sacramento Kings assistant coach in the Summer League, what is your biggest takeaway that you can share to the world?
My experience with Sacramento last summer was everything. It was amazing. I literally enjoyed every minute I was there, and I was very fortunate to be in a situation there with a lot of great people. Obviously, I know Vlade Divac from our time together on the FIBA Player Commission. So to have the GMs, welcome to the NBA franchise was great, and they have so many great people within the organization, and really run it well in terms of the efficiency of how they do things, the people that they're trying to bring in. The one thing that really stands out to me in my time with Sacramento was just the efficiency of everything. The coaches were very adamant about not wasting time. They didn't want they didn't want to waste the players' time, and they didn't want the players wasting their time. So when it was time to work, guys needed to be locked in, because if you weren't, it's a very competitive atmosphere. So if you're not ready, then they'll just move on to the next guy. So it was a very positive environment, but at the same time, very competitive as well, because those guys were competing for spots, hopefully in training camp later in the year. But again, the thing that really stood out to me was just the efficiency of how everything was run. I mean, from literally the time the guys walk into the arena to prepare for practice in terms of their stretching, their time with their PTs, the strength and conditioning aspect, their time on the court with the actual team, and even their post practice work, and then the recovery. I mean, everything was very detailed. And again, they really want to make sure that they were maximizing the effort and maximizing the time as well. So that really stood out.
Coach, jumping from your Sacramento Kings experience, right now Kai Soro is trying to punch his ticket to the NBA, and seeing players who are NBA ready, and of course you saw Kai in some Gilas practices, and as well, what will be your advice to the young fellow to make it to the NBA?
I'm incredibly excited for Kai. Obviously, the sky is the limit for him in terms of his potential, and he's absolutely on the right track. I think this G League experience will be great for him, just to not only train in an NBA environment, but to be exposed to the competition that's going to be there. And in terms of the size and the experience and the athleticism at that level, it's elite. So for him to be a young player and getting exposed to that early, and at the same time getting a chance to grow, getting a chance to improve in that culture, that environment, I think it's great for him. So I wish him the absolute best. I wish him great health. I think that'll be a big key for him, that he just continues to stay healthy, because that'll allow him just to continue to work and improve. But he's a great young kid, and I think he's handling all of what he's experienced so far very, very well. So I'm excited for him.
Okay, Coach. I'm gonna go back, of course. Right now, since you're the coach of Alab Pilipinas, when you started coaching, and you were said you're gonna be a head coach someday, what type of who are the coaches that you looked up to, to mold that molded your coaching style, and how did they contribute to your of course you got some success right now in Alab Pilipinas?
Well, I think for me as a young coach, and not being so far removed from the game, of course you always go back to I always go back to the experiences that I had for the coaches that I played for, and try to take bits and pieces of what made them successful, and try to cultivate that into my style of play. And on top of that, reading books and talking to different people about some of the NBA coaches. But for me locally, obviously my time with Coach Chad, my time with Coach Norman, I value the time that I spent with them, because it was it's been very helpful in terms of just their coaching styles, a little bit different, but both very effective. And also Coach Jamike Harin, he was a longtime assistant during my time with Talk and Text, and he's someone who I still talk to often now. He's just one of those coaches who's not afraid to think outside the box, and he's always been very supportive since I made the transition into taking the Olive job. And then in terms of the NBA, again, as a young coach, you're always trying to learn, you're trying to grow. So, I follow and I read and I listen to things from Steve Kerr, Brad Stevens, Doc Rivers, Eric Spoelstra. Had a chance to talk to Coach Spo last summer during the Summer League, which was awesome. So, again, as a coach, a young coach like myself, that's the challenge, to continue to try to improve in your craft and try to be the best coach you can be.
Okay, Coach. Next question is from Hoop Junkie.
Hi, Coach. Because of the analytical movement in the NBA, we're in an era right now where teams focus on high pick and roll, spacing, and corner threes. So what do you think of advanced analytics, and how do you use advanced analytics in Alab?
Well, unfortunately with Alab, The analytic part doesn't fit in the budget, so we don't do the analytics. But you know, it is a very big factor in the game nowadays, just because it gives you such valuable information in terms of how, you know, you and your team can be effective. So I think it does help in that aspect. But I know, you know, coaches are kind of, you know, some are on board with it, some not so much. But I do think it's a valuable tool, if anything, at least as a point of reference to see how your team can be effective in terms of what you're running and the makeup of players that you have.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach,
Yep.
your first championship with Ala Pilipinas, it was, I was there covering you guys, and it was one heck of a ride.
Yep.
God bless Miss Cheryl Reyes for bringing you Ronaldo Bachman and Justin Brownlee.
Absolutely.
Talk us about, of course, they were replacement players, and I was covering their first game. When they came, they lacked sleep. Okay, run us through that story once again. And of course, I mean, that was a crazy game. I didn't expect. I mean, these guys didn't have much sleep, and it was Ronaldo Bachman's return to the Philippines. So run us through that. Of course, Ronaldo Bachman is a very controversial person before coming to the Philippines back then. So run us through that. How do you got Justin and Ronaldo Bachman?
Okay, so I'll share a story with you guys. Start of my first ABL season, absolute struggle. I mean, we're just not doing very well. 2 months into the season, we're in last place. But you know, there was a light at the end of the tunnel because, you know, rest in peace, you know, to Cheryl, who's a very dear friend of mine. We spoke about, you know, bringing in 2 replacement imports, and right away she said, well, hey, Justin wants to play. And so we were so fortunate to get him on board to play with us, but we still needed 1 more import. And so I met Danny Siegel. We met for a late dinner and literally tried to brainstorm who we could pair Justin Brownlee with, because we said, hey, with Justin on board, we might have the best import in the entire ABL, but who do we pair with him? Because we weren't very big, you know, so we're like, do we get a big guy, or do we just try to find the best guy we can, you know, considering our budget limitations? So we are literally brainstorming till 2:30 in the morning, and we can't think of anyone. Like, you know, we guys weren't available. Guys, you know, wouldn't accept the offer. And so Danny goes, I wonder what Ronaldo Bachman's doing right now. And it's funny because when we played against Puerto Rico in Spain, Balk and I had a chance. We met, we were actually having dinner at the same place, and we had a chance to talk. And he said, hey, you know, if you ever coach, you know, I'd love to go back and make things right in Manila. And so I said, you know what? DS, I think I have Balk's number. Sure enough, I had his number. It was like 3 a.m. Manila time, but he was on the East Coast. So it was about 3 in the afternoon. And I called him, and I'm like, hey, Balk, it's Jimmy Alapag from the Philippines. And he's like, oh, hey, you know, how you been? And long story short, he was coming off of an injury, hadn't played in 8 months. But I said, hey, you want to come back to Manila? And he said, hey, I'm on board. And Danny Siegel and I sat there around 3:05 in the morning and looked at each other like we couldn't believe we had Ronaldo Bachman and Justin Brownlee as the imports for Ala that season. And so that's where it started.
Wow.
And from there, Coach, did you know that you can already turn the season around? I mean, you guys, you said it was a bad start for you guys. And talk us about that season. That when both of those guys came in, did you have a hard time mixing them up with your players' current roster at that time?
No, the transition was seamless because you could just sense the excitement with everyone because they knew the caliber of imports that we had. And credit to Bulk and Justin because they came in, embraced the guys, made them feel comfortable, gave them confidence. And credit to our local guys that season because they continue to stay the course with what we were doing. And it could have been very easy for them to just blame me or blame each other for why we were struggling early. But we talked about it and said, hey, if we're gonna find our way out of our struggles, we have to help ourselves and we have to push each other a little bit harder at practice. And again, having two big time imports like those guys coming in, it all just kind of came together almost immediately.
And talk us about those two imports. What do people don't know about those two guys? And talk us about coaching those guys.
I mean, with both those guys, I think their talent and their basketball ability speaks for itself. Their resume speak for itself. But for the people who don't know, it's again the people that they are, off the court and how they are with their teammates, how they are when we travel on the road to our Kababayans, in and around Southeast Asia, how they embrace our culture and accept the responsibility of not just being an import player, but representing the country. And they took a lot of pride in that. And our guys could feel it. The fans could feel it. And again, that's what made that first season so special because it started off so bad, but because of the guys' hard work, the rest of the staff on our coaching staff, everyone's hard work. It was awesome to see everyone, reap the fruits of the labor at the end of the season.
And coach, of course, we have a good friend, of course, that left us a year ago, Cheryl Reyes. Talk about the impact of her for Ala Pilipinas.
Well, God bless Cheryl. She was a longtime friend. She loved Philippine basketball. She absolutely, have had the love and passion for the game that I think connects all of us. And she was a huge part in helping us put that team together. And I don't know if we win that championship without her support. So before she moved on up to heaven, I'm thankful that we had a chance to share that moment of winning that championship, and having her there in the locker room to celebrate with us. Really, really special.
And coach, this season, okay, you got Jeremiah Gray, Rickman in your team. If the season went further, how would you assess your chances?
It's been almost 4 months, and I think that's still the toughest pill to swallow is that we'll never know. This past season in the ABL, I think the coaching staff and I knew that it was probably going to be the toughest of the past 3 seasons, just because we had a completely new team, completely new imports. We only had 2 holdovers from last season, had a late start. So we were really behind the 8 ball right at the start of the tournament, scrambling to find guys, find imports. But through all of our early season struggles with, 11 games left to play, we're sitting in second place. And now I have Justin Brownlee on board and the reigning defensive player of the year in the ABL in John Fields. And the 2 weeks that we had with those guys at practice was the same air of confidence that I had our first season, and just guys excited to be out there on the court. And because we had struggled so much at the early part of the season, I felt like we were just hitting our stride, and then the pandemic hit. So, it was tough, not just for us, but for all the teams. And again, it's it's Cy Young because I would have loved to at least seen that team on the court together at least once.
And of course, talk about your players, Andre Karakut, Jason Brickman, Jeremiah Gray. These are guys that you're handling for the first time, and we seen them play together. We seen the potential, especially if you put in John Fields and Justin Brownlee in that court. We could just imagine. And of course, you have Lawrence Domingo, funny guy.
Yep.
I mean,
A new dad, by the way.
okay, so runs to that team, I mean, to those players, and sooner or later, these guys are gonna be knocking at the door of the PBA. And how do you assess their careers in the future?
Okay. I think this season was probably the youngest team that I handled in the last 3 years. But I'll start off with Andre. Love that kid. So tough. Just comes to work every day, ready to put in the time and effort. And I made a mistake early in the season not giving him as much time as he deserved. But watching the games and just seeing how much a difference he made on the court, we had to find more minutes for him. And, it was great to see him grow throughout the season, and, great to see the staff and I get smart and find more time for him. But again, a great young player. It was great to see him play, alongside and compete against Jason Brickman every day, because I think that's only going to make him better. But Andre is going to have a great career in the pros here soon, and I look forward to watching him. With Jeremiah Gray, just an ultra athletic wing guy. He would be one of the most athletic wings in the PBA today. Just has makes so many athletic plays look effortless. But again, a great kid, can shoot the ball and is always looking to get better. And again, that's what makes coaching, for me, so fulfilling is having these great young players, who come in ready to work and want to get better. So, again, I'm excited to see Jeremiah continue to get better, and then hopefully see him in the PBA soon as well. Another rookie we had, Jordan Heading, who actually was teammates with Andre, which I didn't know about until after we had already signed Andre, that him and Jordan and Andre were teammates on the Gilas under 17 team, I believe. But Jordan played in the States for Cal Baptist Division I. Reminds me a lot of a young Jared Dillinger, not just in how they look, but both lefties, athletic, strong, can play and guard multiple positions, and is just a great kid. A natural leader, and somebody who was, a big time contributor for us this year. And then last, of course, Jason Brickman. Played against him in the finals our first season. Have heard so many great things about him. Competed against him my first season ABL. So was really excited to finally get him home to play for the Philippines. Just one of the smartest and best passing guards I've ever seen. And again, a kid who's got a great work ethic and attitude. Very quiet, but no doubt would be one of the top guards of the PBA. So I hope he gets an opportunity in the near future as well.
And lastly, Jimmy, before we wrap this thing up, and coach, the ABL and of course the Alapag Pilipinas has been a very good stepping stone for some professional athletes in the PBA, like Ray Parks. Before coming to the PBA, ABL, he wanted to fulfill that dream for his father. uh, uh, talk about um, uh, the ABL being a great training ground for players and a breeding ground for these athletes to become better PBA players in the future.
Well, I think one of the best parts about the ABL and the other pro leagues in and around Southeast Asia, especially nowadays, when you look at pro leagues, in Thailand, Vietnam, Singapore has been a part of the ABL since the beginning. It helps. It just helps continue to grow the game in the entire region, and especially here in the Philippines because you have so many talented players. It's another avenue for them to take professionally, and I think it's a great opportunity for them because it's great competition. It's a chance to travel and represent the country and really feel the passion and support that we get from our kababayans, all over Southeast Asia. And I think it's a great tool for them, wherever their career takes them going forward. And again, that's the fulfilling part for me is to see these guys as you're trying to teach them and encourage them and motivate them to see them learn and grow and be successful. That's where the fulfillment comes in as a coach. And again, really, really thankful for all the guys that I've had the last 3 seasons. There will always be a huge what if on this season, but again, we're also dealing with something that none of us ever thought we'd see in our lifetime. So everyone's safety comes first, and hopefully we get the game back soon.
And I'll throw the last question to PH Sports Bureau. He has may pahabol.
Actually, this is
Sure.
not related with ABL, but coach, since your best friend, Mr. Shoulders, Harvey Carey is towards the end of his career. Remember, he was called Mr. Shoulders before. That was his moniker. And do you want or like to see him like coaching someday, maybe on your side, calling shots for your team?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. Um, I think Harvey's success in the PBA is a great model for young players who may not be the Junmar Fajardos coming into the league. I think Harvey has found a space to be great in his role throughout his 17-year career, and that has grown into a leadership role with Talking Text now having a much younger team. So I think there's a lot of value that he has, not just in terms of being there for all 7 championships, but just his experience. And I think you can never judge the value of that or how important it is to a team to have veteran leadership like that. With guys who have done it, who have experienced it, to be able to set the bar for the younger guys coming in. So, whatever path Harvey chooses post career, I have no doubt he'll be successful.
Thank you, coach.
Mr. Shoulders.
Yeah.
And coach, finally, before we end, of course, we are in this pandemic. Personally, what are your biggest lessons in this trying times in this pandemic?
I think this pandemic has really just forced all of us to take a step back and just really look at our entire life and be it our family life, our career, because it's been affected in all aspects. And one thing that it's taught me, it took me about a month, maybe longer to just get over the fact that we weren't playing anymore because it happened so fast. And just, again, asking myself the questions, what would have happened if we would have had our team play. But I think that the biggest thing that I've learned is that, I'm valuing this extra time with family. spending time with my kids. And even though, we haven't had the game and hopefully, we're going to have it here soon, it's given me a chance to just do other things. I've been trying to read a lot more, done a few webinars and just, watched old games just to continue to try to grow as a coach and try to be as productive as I can in these times, because it's obviously been tough for everyone. And while doing the family time and continuing to try to grow, as a coach, also trying to do our part to help, whether it's donating or my wife, I've been helping her prepare food for the frontline workers and just trying to do our part to help, because again, it's such a trying time for everyone here in our country and really, something that's impacted the entire world. So, trying to stay productive, and spend time with the family, but trying our best to do our part to help as well.
All right, Coach Jimmy, final thoughts and of course, final words before we end this.
No,
Who's speaking right
first
here?
and foremost, first and foremost, I just, thank you guys for having me, especially with this being the first show. You guys took me on a trip down memory lane from, my time in the States and, in college and high school and college, leading all the way up throughout my career and even now, into coaching. So, again, thank you guys for having me and, just, hoping and praying that we all get the game back soon. So in the meantime, stay safe and, hope you and your loved ones are okay.
And with that, we end our first episode of Foul Counted. This has been a very special episode. But anyway, we have to thank our supporters, Cloudwalk Digital, and Virtual Playground. Thank you for hooking us up with Coach Jimmy, and I hope we can have more soon in the future. And Coach, I really hope that we can chat in person once again and have this interview face to face and talk about Alab even more.
Yeah, that'd be great. Hopefully soon.
And with that, we end our show once again. Subscribe to our channels here. Everyone in this room right now, please do that. And Brian is nodding his head because he doesn't have a YouTube channel yet. But yes, please do. And again, stay safe and God bless.
Thank you for watching. Click the subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified with our latest videos.